In this video, I'm going to walk through graphing and key features of a trigonometric function, an equation that's been given to you. So the equation that's given is -3 times sine of pi over 2 x minus 4 plus 1. And the first thing that I want you guys to keep in mind as you're working through these is that these functions follow exactly the same transformations as every other function we've ever learned. So the number that's multiplied out in front tells you if there's a vertical stretch. If there's a negative out in front, that's a reflection. The number on the inside is going to be a horizontal stretch multiplied. This value here is going to be a horizontal translation or a horizontal shift, and this right here is going to be a vertical shift. So keep those in mind as we're working through this, and this is the same transformations we worked with every single function, whether it was linear, whether it was quadratic, absolute value, square roots, cube roots. Every single function has those same features where you have your vertical stretch, horizontal translation, and vertical translation. So some of these questions are easier than others. So B, what is the vertical shift on this function? Well, this is always vertical. So that last number right here is 1. There's going to be a vertical shift. The whole function is going to move up 1. What is the horizontal shift of this function? That's going to be this number here. Now, because there's a negative in our transformation function and there's a negative here, this is actually just 4. If there was a positive here, that would be opposite of this transformation function. So if there was a positive, then it would be -4. The other way that you can do this is you can say 1 up and 4 right. Then you don't really have to worry about those pluses and minuses, and you're giving a little more context as to what's happening. Now the next question is specific to trig functions, and that is, what is the period of this function? The period is how long it takes to repeat a cycle. The quick and easy way to do it is that this value right here is your b value. Your period is 2 pi over b. So you could have 2 pi over 2, and it becomes 4. If you have a hard time with that, as long as you know what period means, you could plug your graph in. That's what I did here. And you can click on a high point and another high point and find the distance between the two high points. So we have -1 and 3. There are 4 units in between those high points, making our period 4. Okay. So now we need to sketch the graph of the function in the space below. Label your x-axis in at least 3 points to show you have your period marked correctly. Label your y-axis at the midline of the curve and 2 other places. I'm going to graph this all by hand so that you can see how we do it, but you can always check your work on a graphing calculator. So I'm going to draw my x and my y. My midline is at 1 because of that vertical shift. So I'm going to draw just a dotted line so that I know this right here is my midline. My amplitude is 3, meaning from 1 I can go up 3 units. 2, 3, 4. This is where my max of the function is. And I can go down 3. 1, 2, 3. And this is where the min of my function is. And I know that because this right here is my vertical stretch. So if I start at 1, I can stretch up 3 units and I can stretch down 3 units. The other information that I have is that my function, the first known point that I have, is 4 units to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is my first known value. My period is 4, so I want to make sure that I go 4 units from there. This is a sine function, so I'm going to start at my midline. Because it's negative, I'm going to go down. So I'm going to go down to my minimum, back up to my sinusoidal axis, up to my maximum, and back down. And that should take 4 units to complete. There's one cycle. We don't like graphs just floating. So we can connect this back by repeating the pattern the other way. So I'm going to go here. And I just want to connect it with the y-axis. And there we have our graph. When you're doing this, you want to make sure that you can show that you know where you're supposed to start, that you know where you're supposed to end, that you know where the midline is and where the max and the minimum is.